Hi, I'm HME News Executive Editor Mike Moran, and I'm here today with Frank Margulis, the President of Margin Consultants. And Frank, you've got a story that's you don't hear much in the industry, but you had a DME company, you ran it successfully, and somehow you had run afoul of Medicare regulations, and you ended up losing your company and spending some time in prison. I mean, how did that happen, and what lessons are in this for other providers?
Mike, it happened surprisingly fast in one sense, and I guess the bottom line is it was due to my lax philosophy, the way that I failed to oversee things. I entered the DME business in 1992, and I supervised a store for my father-in-law. It took off, and then I moved to another town. I started another DME business, sold it at a profit. Then I started another business in 1999, Covenant Medical, and just from my experiences, I was able to parlay that thing, and we started growing, maybe a little too fast. One store became two, became three, and I was ready to open a fourth store when the front page of our local newspaper said, Opelika Company indicted on Medicare fraud. When I look back, I think a couple of the mistakes I made, number one, grew too fast, but number two, I did not, my philosophy, I guess, was one of, I was just lax. I didn't require accountability. There was one store in particular, it was 70 miles away. I didn't care for the drive, and so I rarely went there, and maybe 5 times a year. It was that store that gave my case some life to it. I did not find that out until after I was indicted, and after I combed through thousands of pages of discovery. That store manager in that little town actually did commit fraud on about 8 CMNs. Even when she was interviewed and under oath, she exonerated me, but the investigators, for some reason, were intent on going after me.
But did they think you were like ordering her to do people to do things? And
yes, I guess they thought that I had pressured her or we were in cahoots, even though, again, she testified that that wasn't the case. I was indicted on 165 counts of fraud, obstruction of justice, kickbacks, all these various things. After about 16, 18 months, the investigators knew enough to drop 164 of the 165 counts. There was one count that I was guilty of, obstruction of a Medicare audit. And how that happened is when we got a request for Medicare records, audit by mail, when the claims processors were gathering up records, we noticed that there had been a glitch in the program. Well, there was a former claims processor. She wasn't good. She didn't catch it or she didn't work it. But anyway, the problem was that the CMM was only printing out the first line item. So on a motorized wheelchair, you get the wheelchair base. Well, we had placed the equipment. I knew those docs weren't really going to be excited about me sending them a revised CMN. So in my own handwriting, I wrote batteries and anti-tip stuff that we actually provided. I didn't think that was going to be a big deal because it's like, hey guys, we really did provide a battery with this wheelchair. Medicare thought it was a big deal because the CMN had already been signed. I knew that that was against the regulation. I thought I was just being efficient. I thought, if I had to explain this, I could easily explain it and a doctor would easily back me up. Medicare wasn't interested.
Yeah. And so what happened?
Well, that was the charge that stuck. They threw out 164 of the counts. I was charged with obstruction of a Medicare audit. $77,000 was recouped, and I was sentenced to 5 months in Montgomery Federal Prison Camp in Alabama, followed by 5 months of home confinement and 3 years of probation.
Yeah. Are you through? Is that all over now?
It is.
Yeah. How? What do you think so the lessons for other providers? Because I mean, maybe in the day-to-day rush, people do try to cut corners, and you hear about it and all this stuff, and I think we hear about it enough so that you got to start thinking that people do this. But what do you tell people?
Mike, my mindset was more free market. It's like, well, just take the expedient way of doing things and be as efficient as possible. That does not fly, not with Medicare. When they have rules and regulations established, they must be followed to a T.
Yep.
In my particular case, I've come up with 3 areas that I wish I would have done differently. The first one is accountability, to require a whole lot more accountability. After I was indicted, I kind of figured this out. So I held weekly staff meetings with the entire staff, implemented peer review. I occasionally checked records myself, so I got more involved in the process. The second thing was I evaluated my organization. There were some people there that were in the wrong place and doing the wrong jobs, and so I believe with all my heart it's critical to have the right people in the right place. You can have the right people on board, but if they're not in the right place, they're going to weigh the organization down. It won't function very efficiently. And the last area is education. And education, education, education. I made sure that all of our folks, including myself, went through a rigorous educational process. So we can quote the rules on fraud and abuse.
Right.
We know what the OSHA regulations are, and I now value education very highly.
Do you think companies should have a compliance officer?
Absolutely. Even a small company like mine, we had 3 stores, 10 employees, and if it takes outsourcing, fine. If companies can get together, maybe and share the expense, fine. But absolutely, Mike.
Yep. What happened to your companies?
Well, let me see. Covenant Medical, I sold the assets, rock bottom price, fire sale. That still didn't cover all of my expenses, didn't cover my legal bills, didn't cover what I owed vendors. So over time, I was able to work it all out. So all my creditors have been paid to their satisfaction.
But you sold your companies off?
Yes.
As part of it, helped pay for all the legal stuff.
I lost it all.
Yeah, and but you seem like you're rebounding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think you'll ever start up another home medical equipment company?
I don't have that much courage.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I totally enjoy this industry because it's something that we can take pride in. The goods and services we provide change people's lives.
Yeah.
That's why I totally enjoy doing more of the consulting aspect and giving presentations, the lessons I've learned. I want folks to learn from my mistakes, not the hard way.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, Frank, thanks a lot. I really appreciate you coming by.
It's my pleasure, Mike. Thanks a lot.
Good.